You are listening to the Screen to Screen Selling Talk Show hosted by Doug DeVitri, your source to increasing sales, productivity, and the customer experience. In each show, we will sit down with world-class thought leaders to discuss latest trends, innovative concepts, and ideas to keep you ahead of the curve using the latest technology. Welcome back, everyone, to the show. Very special guest today, Todd Cohen, certified speaking professional, knows what it takes to create a sales culture. Todd, welcome to the show today.
Doug, glad to be here. Thank you.
Well, Todd, you just recently put out a book, Everyone's in Sales. Can you tell us about really what it takes from the bottom up, so that conversation helps customers on different paths so, they feel like they're really a part of that experience?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I just put out my second book. It's part of the Everyone's in Sales. It's going to be a trilogy, but the first one was Everyone's in Sales. And the second book is Everyone's in Sales, Stop Apologizing, because I can't stand it when somebody feels bad and apologizes for asking what it is that they want, right? So we should all not be afraid to ask for, what it is that we need. The books themselves are all about building a sales culture, which is this idea that in an organization, everyone's in sales. Everybody impacts the customer's decision to say yes. There's no such thing as the sales organization and then the rest of the organization is siloed. Everybody has a role, right? Has an impact. They may not see it right away. They may see it immediately. They may never see it, but everybody has an impact on the customer's decision to ultimately say yes. And I believe passionately, nobody wakes up in the morning and says, hey man, I'm proud to be overhead and I don't care about what I do. Sales is somebody else's problem, and sales is not somebody else's problem. It's everybody's opportunity.
That's great. I remember that line you said, no one wants to wake up and consider themselves overhead.
Right.
How can someone who probably wouldn't consider themselves to be in a sales role really contribute more to that experience?
Yeah, it's great. So building a sales culture, first and foremost, Doug, is about changing the mindset of people, right? Because, organizations today, they're terribly, terribly siloed. You got marketing over here, you have HR over here, you have finance over here, you have sales way off over there, and everybody thinks, they're on the golf course, playing around and doing nothing productive. And then you have the C-suite, running around on the private jets, and none of that is true, right? So organizations that are siloed, they're all saying, well, I'm hanging with my own people. Sales is somebody else's problem. And the point that I try to make to people through my keynotes and my workshops is that everything you do is a selling moment, because every conversation you have, you're forming an opinion about what you do and how should I interact with you and best use your skills and talents. So I don't care whether you're the person, who's the janitor cleaning the floors at night or you're the CEO. What you do impacts a customer's impression on the company and ultimately their decision to say, I'm going to do business with you versus somebody else. So it's about bringing down the silos, right? It's about, having people understand that being in sales doesn't mean you have to stop doing what you're doing and go knock on doors. It does mean that what you're doing ultimately influences a customer's decision. It's a part of the jigsaw puzzle, if you will, of a customer's decision to say, yeah, in sum total, my experience with this organization is a good one. I'm going to give them the business. That's what it means.
No, that's great. And how would a team hold one another accountable to make sure that everyone's kind of on the same page? Because a challenge becomes, especially with marketing and technology. Marketing thinks it's one way, technology think it might be another way, and then you have the whole new idea of data coming into the equation and security, and there's all these different things. What would you suggest so that team can kind of create a positive culture together? Yeah,
there's a couple of things. One, stop using the word but, right? And I'm not the first to say that, but when somebody has a great idea and they go to their team member and they're passionate about it, and the first thing somebody says is, but, you've just negated everything that's been said. You replace the word but with the word and. You got to connect people's thoughts and ideas, and you have to connect people's passions. Even if you disagree, if you use the word and, you're saying, I hear you and respect you, and here's an additional thought. Here's more data. Here's something else. That's the first way. The second thing is, people have a natural inclination to say, look, man, I'm not in sales. And you have to stop people and say, I'm sorry, your job title may not be salesperson. However, your responsibility is sales, because what you do makes the company successful, thrive and hum and hit on all cylinders, or it retards or inhibits the company. So it's about a mindset, Doug. It's about people actively and proactively saying, no, I'm sorry, that attitude isn't acceptable here anymore because we can't function in silos. So how do you hold people accountable? It starts with people taking active participation and saying, I'm sorry, this attitude doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, no, that's great. And really with the availability with technology as even managers can observe behaviors as far as team kind of making those contributions. What would you suggest when a manager runs into a situation where they observe with their team member not participating? How would that manager or leader lift that individual up to make sure that everyone's kind of working together as a team?
Yeah, so that's a great question because, I think one of the things about building a sales culture is you have to have good coaching skills, right? And you have to be a good coach. And so I wrote a workshop once, I authored a workshop once that I teach called Coaching, Not Telling. So if you'd like to lift people up a little bit, stop telling them what to do and start coaching. And coaching means acknowledging. I hear you and. Great concept and. You know what? I love where you're coming from, and I'm not really sure it's going to fit here. So how do we work together to make it better? It's about acknowledgement. It's about saying to somebody what you're doing counts and your passion is driving that. Even if it's not the right solution or if it is the right solution, it's to use the right words and it's the right attitude. So much of what we do can be done right. It's not what we say, it's how we say it, right? We've all heard that for years. Stop telling people what to do and start coaching people more. That's an incredibly effective way to make things better.
Sure. And what would you suggest in a situation where your team isn't physically in the same building? You've got remote workers or individuals are traveling. How can you coach and kind of keep that momentum going when you're not in the same room?
You know what? There's telephones. There's video conferencing. There's a million ways to make contact with somebody. I categorically reject the fact that somebody is not in your office, that you can't coach them. I talk to people all over the world as part of my practice. Let me tell you, I'm not flying all over the world on a daily basis. Can't afford it. Don't want to do it. I use technology. And Doug, you're the technology guy, right? I mean, just like we're having this little talk here by Zoom or Schmoom or whoever it is, right? I mean, I got to tell you, this makes it possible. There's no excuse. The virtual world is only an inch apart if you use technology correctly.
Well, Todd, I really appreciate your pragmatic approach to taking a look at sales organization-wide, not just with one department. I encourage everybody to go out and grab your book. What would you suggest? One final tip that's a must-do in order to protect that sales culture organization-wide.
Well, if you want to protect it, first of all, you have to make a commitment to building it. And you have to make a commitment to building it by saying nobody can ever say again in your organization, sales, not my job. You have got to say, wrong. What you do counts. What you do matters. So therefore, you are actually in sales. In fact, it's really easy to keep this alive if you take the time to go to somebody and say, look, I want you to know that what you did a month ago today helped the customer say yes. You've got to build that bridge. You've got to take the moment to build the bridge. Stop telling people what to do and start building bridges.
You are listening to the Screen to Screen Selling Talk Show hosted by Doug DeVitri, your source to increasing sales, productivity, and the customer experience. In each show, we will sit down with world-class thought leaders to discuss latest trends, innovative concepts, and ideas to keep you ahead of the curve using the latest technology.
Are you ready for more meetings in less time with less expense? Screen to Screen Selling has answers. Screen to Screen Selling is the fastest way to increase sales, productivity, and the customer experience. Screen to Screen Selling is a mindset before it becomes a skill set. Let's look at your beliefs.
or even like join.me.
Receive access to upcoming episodes of the Screen to Screen Selling Talk Show, special announcements, and insider resources. Davitri.co/screen to screen. Order Screen to Screen Selling from 800 CEO READ, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Books A Million, and McGraw-Hill Education.